begin. It's 7 o'clock. Oh, I need to stay in front of the camera. Good evening, everybody. My name is Christian Delisle. I'm the staff sergeant here at the Edson detachment. I'll be doing the presentation tonight. Tonight it's what we call our public consultation on policing priorities. So thank you very much for coming. I totally get there's an Oilers game tonight, so I appreciate that you're choosing me over the Oilers. So tonight, basically what we're going to be talking about, I will start with the stats, what we did as priorities last year, some of the results, and then basically opening the floor to you guys for feedback, how we're doing in the community, what you think the police should be doing, and basically kind of subject related to what's going on in the community police-wise. So without waiting any longer, we'll start with the presentation. So tonight, okay, here you go. So basically this is what we're going to be looking at in the presentation. Our resources and staffing here in Edson. Crime statistics for 2024. Our annual performance plan for 24-25. So of course the federal government has to have a different calendar year. That's basically the calendar year that we use, although I have the stats for the whole year, and this is for our performance plan and priorities that we're looking at for the 25-26 calendar year that will start April 1st. Questions? I will start taking questions probably after the crime stats, so we can discuss this, then we'll move on to our priorities and more questions there too. So in Edson we have 23 regular members. So the way the detachment is divided is basically in two separate detachments, if you want, under the same roof. The first one is what we call the municipal detachment, 17 members paid by the town of Edson, and there's another 6 that are provincially funded. So they're like your rural police officer. Although we don't respond to call according to that number, we work under a system called a post system. So I have members working on one shift, doesn't matter if they're from the town of Edson or from the provincial funded resources. Next call, next guy goes. That's basically how we work. So out of this, pretty much the whole 2024, I was short about 8 members. Different reasons. We have 2 vacancies. There was some parental leave, there was some sick leave and whatnot. Currently, I have 3 members still on parental leave, 3 members on long-term medical leave, 2 vacancies, and I have 2 members that are scheduled to transfer out April, May. So going one to a different division, another one to a different detachment in Alberta. To support those members, I have 6.5 support staff, 4.5 are paid by the town of Edson, and the other 2 are paid by the province. All right, so, okay, this is going too fast. So basically, response time in Edson. So the province or the RCMP always look at our response time on the municipal side and on the provincial side to see like what's the standard, what's the average, and how we're doing. So if we're looking at the Edson detachment, so the municipal side, the average provincially is 13 minutes to respond to a call. So you have it all breaking down here. So, you know, between 5 and 10 minutes, about 35%, you know, 10 to 15 is about 40%, just to give you an idea. So that's basically the average time. In Edson, the Edson detachment to respond to a call within the town, it's 11 minutes. And those calls, they are what we call priority 1 and priority 2. So life or death situation, a family violence in progress, a crime in progress, an urgent request from another agency, type of calls like this. These are the time that we're taking to answer those. So we're below the average, and this is from the time you make the call to an officer showing to the call. Of course, sometimes it's, you know, a little longer or a little shorter, but average 11 minutes. Then if we look for the provincial one, okay, so in the county, so the average is 21 minutes, 21.8. So, and then Edson, we're at 21.6. So we're right on the average. Of course, you know, when we respond to a call like in the Rob area, we're obviously over that 21 minutes, just driving time. But overall, when we respond to a call in the county, we are within the average that we see throughout the province. All right, so 2024, the detachment answered to 6,300 calls for service. In Edson, 3,852, so that's about an increase of 8.2%. And in the county, 2,400, an increase of about 4% compared to last year. And I'll show you the graph. All right, so if we look at Edson, so basically this is the trend for the last 5 years. So as we can see, 2024 is our highest for the last 5 years. So let's remember we're trying to forget, but 2020, 2021, 2022, there were COVID, a little bit less calls for service, but still, if we compare with last year, 8% higher. On the county side, oh, sorry about that. Does it come back one slide? So, okay, so no, this is going way too fast. What's that?
The back arrow on your,
Oh, okay, sorry about that. The back arrow? This one? No, it's not. Of course. Sorry about that. The clicker doesn't work. No. No. Okay, we'll start over again. Sorry about that. Oh, right here. Okay.
there you go.
Come on. Okay, Edson. All right, sorry about that. So in the county, as we can see, was some sort of a increased every year. So last year we had 2,300, this year 24, 4% increase. So that's what we're seeing in the county. All right. Now let's dive into the actual crime stats. So we will start with Edson. There's 3 main categories of crime stats. First one is person crimes, second one property, third one we call other criminal code stats. So this is for Edson for the entire year of 2024, January to December. So these are the main categories that we see. And at the bottom, you kind of have your total for the year. So if we look at 2024, our last column here, we see the change compared with 5 years and compared with last year. So offenses related to death. So I'm not a fan on how, like, the title of that section. It doesn't mean that we had 2 murders, but if we have, let's say, a fire and their life was in danger, or criminal negligence and someone was at danger, it would score in there, and that's what happened during that time. For example, one of them was a stabbing that we had in January here in town, and we charged a person for attempt murder, so that's why we have a score there. But these are the stats. The numbers that we're looking at is assaults. We saw that there's a 8% increase compared to 2023. The majority of the assaults in Edson are people that know each other, family related. It's not that we have a problem on trails where people get beat up or things like this. That's basically the case. Same thing when we're talking about threats and harassment. It's people that know each other. Threats over the internet, on Facebook and whatnot, fairly common. Okay. Property crime. So this is Edson again. So no lie, this year we saw an increase, 17% compared to 2023. So the numbers that are interesting, if we look at the blanket enters, so we had a total of 67 in 2024. So 21 were residences, and the other ones were like sheds, garages, places like that. If we look at theft of motor vehicle, we had 65. So out of those, 37s were pickup trucks, specifically pickup trucks. And then if we look at the theft under, 145, 109 of those were like what we call other thefts. So it was like something left, in a front lawn or in a driveway or on a business premise. Could be a propane tank, could be a garden gnome. So 109 of those were like items like this. 16 were from motor vehicles, so someone breaking into your car, and 15 were shoplifting. And at the bottom here, the mischiefs. So we have two categories. One says damage to property. That's what it is. We had 115 cases where property was damaged, vandalized. And then the other mischief, when we have 70, this is what we're calling like prevent the lawful enjoyment of. So this is your vagrancy. This is a homeless person, let's say in a hotel that is refusing to leave. Police is being called and things like this. So that's what we have. So we saw some increase in our mischief other, the prevent the lawful enjoyment, a slight decrease with the property damage. And other criminal code. So for those categories, offensive weapons, another one. I don't really like the title. It sounds really violent, but this is when a file involved a weapon. So what we see here, we see some knives, but like bear spray. Bear spray is being used a fair bit. So that's what we usually see. You fail to comply in breaches. So out of the 95, half of them are people not following their conditions imposed by court, and the other half is people that did not attend court. So that's basically what we see there. Overall, we saw a decrease of about 19% for other criminal code in Edson. Any questions regarding the Edson stats? Because I will do the exact same thing, but for the county. I don't know if there's any online or if there's anybody here that has any questions, or I can do the county one and then we can talk about the statistic overall afterwards. We're good? Okay, let's talk about the county now. Okay, county, same thing, person crimes. So it's, to be quite honest, it's the exact same thing here that we see. Our assaults, that's what we're paying really attention to. It's family violence. It's people knowing each other. That's basically what we see there. Again, the county is not a violent place, even though we saw a slight increase. It's just that a little bit more were reported to us. I looked at it for just as a curiosity because we saw like a 300% increase in our kidnapping, hostage, and abduction. Again, another title that sounds very violent. So we went from 1 to 4. That's why we have 300%. But looking at the files, they're what we call forcible confinement. So when someone is preventing a person to, leave a room, or, they're in a domestic fight, they just had an assault, and then are preventing them from calling the police, it would fall under that. It's not that we're having like kidnapping in the county. All right. Property crime. We saw a big increase in the county. Big increase, 58% compared to last year. Basically, the majority of the increase was seen, it's the oil and gas industry that was targeted. Theft of, batteries, theft of metals, all their compounds being broken into, vehicles being broken into. They got it hard last year, like pretty hard. The numbers that we're seeing right now, believe it or not, is not a lot of people. We had, for example, a group of 3 people. We knew who they were. We knew that they were doing this. It's just by the time we can pin them on an offense, arrest them, and then try to have them detained, takes some time, unfortunately, because we have to play by the rules. But as soon as we got 2 out of the 3, all of a sudden, everything slowed down. But for a little while, like these 3 were really proactive. They were hitting like oil sites like there was no tomorrow, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 a night, and then those were being reported to us, and we're like, okay, and it's to catch them. And we were getting a lot of information, like we're working with the industry, and they were reporting that they saw the vehicle and they knew who it is, and like we were working with them. It's just the threshold for us to be able to make an arrest and lay a charge set by the court is sometimes, my humble opinion, sometimes probably a little too high, but those are the rules that we have to play with, and it was really hard to catch them, but we eventually did. So if I look at the numbers here, so if we look at the first one, the break-in enters, So if I break that down, about 47% of those were oily sites. So, and I'm talking like it can be like a little shack, compound area. So that's basically what was broken into. 17 of those were actual residences in the county, and 9 were cottages. If we look at right under the motor vehicle, it's about 50-50. It's about 50% trucks and everything else, like the other 50%, any other vehicles. If I look at the possession of stolen goods, so 70, we saw here 70, a bit of an increase. So usually when they steal a truck or steal a quad, eventually they dump it somewhere. So because we already have a theft file, when we recover the vehicle, it creates a second file, which is possessing a stolen vehicle. And like the majority, like pretty much all of them were like vehicles that were recovered. Same thing, the mischief, if we look down, so the damage to property, 70% of that number here, all right, oil sites again. So basically window smash, spray painted, wires cut, things like this. And then damage to like fences, compound, and vehicles that are left on site by workers because they're coming the next day or whatnot, like vehicle damage and whatnot. So those are the numbers for the property crime in the county. And then if we look at the last slide, other criminal code for the county. Come on. Don't want to click the wrong button again. There you go. So if we look at those, disturbing the peace, so we went from 5 to 20. That's why we saw that big of an increase. So this is when we have someone that is kind of causing a disturbance, a little too drunk, stumbling down the road and whatnot. Overall, we saw an increase of 9%, and your fail to comply and breaches are roughly the same as in town conditions and not attending court. So roughly the same kind of offenses there. And then one more stat that I want to show, and the reason for this is it was part of our annual performance plan. It's drug files. So drug investigations are always interesting. I like to kind of make a joke about it, saying like, you know, like nobody calls in saying, hey, I just consumed drugs, please come and arrest me. So it's the majority self-generated. We have to do an investigation. We either stumble on it by luck or we get information and we follow up on it. So total in Edson, we had 18 files, in the county 2. So that's a decrease, 44% from 2023 and 67% from 2023 in the county. These files resulted in 4 files that we could lay charges. Because sometimes we will stumble into some drugs, the amount is very minimal, that we have to make a decision or we consult with the Crown that they're like, no, we're not going to prosecute. We still seize, we still score it as a drug files, but sometimes we just don't lay a charge. So that's what we had in 2023, in 2024, and these are the comparison with 2023. I will talk about this in our the next set of slides, because it is a priority that we have for this year, and the numbers are slightly higher. All right, before I move on to annual performance plan priorities, any questions about the statistics that I was just showing, or any crime type that you have questions about, clarification, or anything like this? Anything online? No, we're good? Okay. All right, annual performance plan, priorities. So like I said, the year for that is a little different. It's from April 1st to March 31st. So I don't have the total for the actual fiscal year. I only have 3 quarters. I will get the final stats in about 2-3 weeks. But it will give you a good idea where we're at and what we did with our priorities. So we had 3 main priorities for 24-25. First one's crime reduction. Our goal was to reduce property crime by 5%. No secret here, we did not meet that goal. 1,500 visibility patrols. This is our way to be as proactive as possible, to be as visible as possible. And then the last one was to do 12 drug investigations. Second priority, community engagement. Basically be present for at least 50 community contacts. So we're talking presentations in schools, town town halls, attending Canada Day, attending Gold Dust Days in the county, swinging by at the Medicine Lodge Rodeo, things like this, to kind of have a police presence in an environment that is different than the calls for service, that is different than, us attending criminal situation, so positive engagement with the community. And then the last one, it was an internal priority. We had a big turnover in our support staff, so we wanted to provide some training and whatnot, so we were focusing on, okay, let's develop our members, let's develop our support staff, how many trainings we can have, so 15 courses training for the detachment. So if we look at the priorities, so total on this, so last year, so 2023, and when I'm saying last year, we had a total of 840 property crimes, town and county combined. So after 3 quarters, so after 9 months, we are already at 933. So we are up by about 11%. So I suspect we will end the year around the 15% higher. Visibility patrols, after 3 quarters, we're at 1,272, so we will probably hit the 1,500. So what do we do during those proactive patrols? So traffic enforcement, it's one of it. School patrols, doing some curfew check in on our prolific offenders, attending hot spots, so areas that we know that gets broken into, like especially oil sites, like we know like specific areas where we know there's more break and enters and whatnot, swinging by and having a look and trying to catch someone committing a crime. This is what we do during those patrols. And then our 12 investigations, after 3 quarters, we had 29. So very good year. And out of the 29, 7 charges so far. So not bad for drugs this year. So community contacts, after 3 quarters, we've done 31. So these are some of the places and activities that we've attended. Canada Day, Remembrance Day. You guys can read this, doing the Halloween candy patrols with COP, Christmas parade, all this. This is where we're trying to be visible and present in the community as much as we can. So we're doing pretty good on this one. And the last one, training, after the 3 quarters, 19 courses were taken. PROS, this is our police reporting occurrence system. So basically that's what we enter our data, files and whatnot. A lot of support staff took that training this year because we had a lot of new members. CPIC, that's the Canadian Police Information Center. So if you have a warrant, any driver's license information goes onto that. This is what, when people say, can you run him on the computer? That's what we check. Again, our support staff took that training. We have members that took the interview course, tire deflation device, the spike belt. Some members got trained on this. One member took the extremism, violence, basically how to recognize this, how to investigate. Drug recognition expert, containment team. So containment team is a group of members that are being called, let's say we have a hostage situation or someone that is running in the bush, to have extra members to contain the area to try to catch the person. So there's a training for that. We had some .308 rifle users, so yeah, so good years for training. And 25, 26, in terms of priorities that, of course we will be discussing this, but the things that I think that we should focus, property crime. I mean, there's no, it's the same year, it's the same thing year after year. It's probably the main thing here. Edson is not a violent community. It's not like we have to address like bar fights and things like this every weekend. But property crime, it's something that, well, we saw a slight increase last year, so we should focus our attention on that. We love our community contact. I think it's important that we're seen throughout the community from a different perspective, not just as people giving tickets or people arresting people, but people that can be involved in the community. Drugs for sure. I am certainly not suggesting that we have a drug problem, but there's some drugs. Just numbers or stats. I said that during town council. Contrary to what Donald Trump would like to believe, like we don't have a fentanyl problem in Edson. The majority of the drug that we caught was cocaine or cocaine related. couple of cases of fentanyl. I'm not saying that there's more, but what we caught was cocaine related. And traffic. Traffic this year I think would probably be a good priority to have. Reason for this, we've lost the photo radar. And I know for some people it might be a good thing, but we have a major Trans-Canada highway going right across our town. And I'm afraid that without the photo radar, the knowledge being out there in the community that there's no more photo radar, that we will see some increased speed on that portion of the highway within the town, and that puts the community right at risk. Anybody wanting to cross the road to go to A&W or some of the business downtown, like the risk will be increased. So we're planning or thinking to put that as one of our priorities, basically doing some operations on that portion of the highway, focusing on the 4th and 2nd Ave in Edson, to try to send a message that even though there's no photo radar, we'll be there and trying to keep the speed at decent amount, like within the law. So priorities doesn't mean that we're not investigating the rest. It means that this is what we're kind of keep a close eye on. But of course, traffic in school zones is also important. You know, other crimes are also important, but this is what we're going to be focusing and tallying the stats on our performance plan. That is it for the presentation. So basically, we're question time. Feedback, please. If there's anything we do right, wrong, we should improve, please let me know. I'm here for the hard questions. And if you have any ideas of priorities, when I was at the county council, one councillor mentioned like, hey, so your property crime priority, if you can have a focus on the oil industry, says absolutely. Like they're the one getting hit the hardest. And then in town, fraud was being brought up. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Actually, we're getting a fair bit amount of fraud over the phone and internet and things like this. So we're going to do some presentation about that. But this is your chance now to, give me your opinion or input on what you think we should have as priority. We have a mic, so you don't need to tell me your name or anything. It's all good. Or if you have a business owner, I don't need to know, but I will certainly would like to get your input on what your police department should be doing next year.
Hi.
We don't even know if it works.
Does it work? No.
No.
So I'm curious.
It works on there? Okay.
Okay. I'm just curious if for the property crime this year, especially the oil and gas sites, if there is a change in the way you guys are approaching it, knowing that the crimes seem to be more organized and also are being committed by people who are armed now, and so how you're approaching that and how you're helping the oil industry protect the people that work in it to make sure that they're not in a situation that is violent, because that has happened already a few times this year.
Yep. So you're right. That type of crime, we've seen a level of, I'll call cockiness from the criminal, like getting a lot, more and more. We see it more and more. It used to be just at nighttime, right, when there was nobody, and then as soon as they were seeing a vehicle, they'd drive away. Now it's during the day, and even if the oil workers are there, they're coming anyway, and they bust the fences. And yes, there was one incident for sure that we knew a firearm was presented. So yes, so we've seen an increase in the severity of that type of crime. So to be quite honest, the approach is not different. That you bust a fence or that you have a gun, it doesn't matter, we'll go anyway, right? What we've really, I don't want to say changed, but kind of put a little bit more emphasis on is really the communication with the oil industry. So we had a meeting, I forgot what month, December or January, in Hinton with different representative of the different companies, making sure they have like a way to communicate with us as quickly as possible, reporting to us as quickly as possible what's going on. As simple as like, hey, like who do we call or what number do we call, and explaining a little bit the boundaries. This is Hinton, this is Edson. So we're a lot more efficient in what we're doing. So it doesn't change. I'll be honest with you. It's not because they have a gun that we don't go and arrest them like we care. We're just a little bit more safer. But our big challenge is, and I said it a little earlier, it's the onus that is put on us to prove something sometimes is a little too much. We will have someone reporting to us that, hey, I've seen this vehicle and I've seen the guy, I know he's so-and-so, and then we present this information to the Crown and to the judicial system, and they're like, yeah, are we 100% that they know it's them or whatnot? We're like, come on, work with us a little bit here. So this is like actually the biggest challenge for us. It's to bring a solid case to the Crown that they will prosecute. But beside that, we are trying to patrol as much as we can to have that presence, to limit their presence in there. We're working with COP. They are also going down those roads from time to time for us. I mean, obviously taking their distance and being safe, but if they see any suspicious activity, contacting us and whatnot. So that's the approach that we have taken for the last 5 years-ish, and it has some results. I won't argue that it's not perfect. Like I won't say that it is, but that's basically what we're doing. Yeah, go ahead.
When you were showing the numbers for like the number of members that you have, it looks like on the whole you're losing 2 more. So are we going to get some more
Yes.
policing support? And then is there anything that we can do like as citizens of the community or the county? Because I've reached out to like the MLA's office, and being told to go talk to an RCMP officer is not helpful. And I would assume that there has to be some support from a provincial or, federal level if we contact our MLA or MP and ask for more support or for, our concerns to be brought up in other avenues than this. If there's anything that we can do.
Yes. So first question, the member part. So we were a little low last year. I can tell you that we have a minimum number that we will work with, and we maintain that like 99.9%. If we have to call overtime, we call overtime. So yes, when we have minimal numbers, there's a little bit less proactive patrolling. Like, it's just nature of the beast. The RCMP was good to me with a couple of positions last year. One member was on parental leave. The other one was due to transfer but was not yet transferred. But they sent me 2 replacement anyway. So they're trying their best. But I'm like we have 113 detachment in the province, and we're all fighting for members. So, I get so many. I can tell you that the 2 members I'm losing right now, the paper is in already to replace them. The vacancies, we've been trying to fill them up. It's just we're all competing for members. Now, the second part, what you can do. First of all, anything suspicious you see, please call, right? Our complaint line, 780-723-8822. Absolutely, call that phone number. Make a complaint. It's with stats, and it's with information that we know where to patrol, what to look for, and whatnot. Now, in all honesty, the whole judicial system part, to be quite honest, everybody's aware about it now. The MLAs have been supporting us, the town have been supporting us, where it's like, hey, we need some changes. Unfortunately, the judicial system is a provincial jurisdiction, but some of the rules are set by the federal government. So then they have this, let's point the finger at each other. That's beyond my paycheck, but that's where the battle is at. Of course, a letter of support saying, hey, I would support like stiffer penalty, this and that to your MLA so it can be moved forward is always welcome, right? But they're aware and they're doing their best. It's just a big dinosaur, and it's a big machine that it does not move too fast. So that piece, it's been recognized, it's been worked on. Even from our end, I know my management, like upper management, has been like lobbying the government to say, hey guys, like it's a bit of a catch and release, and we need to work on that. So we know. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, a couple questions and a couple comments. First off, they'd like to see more patrols done around the 4-way stops.
Okay.
People blowing through them. Doesn't give a street address on that one.
Okay.
They would like to see more officers on foot on occasion. I know
Okay.
you guys recently did some work downtown with that.
Okay.
Can a person, to prevent theft, electrify their fences?
No.
No.
The short answer is no. You cannot booby trap. You cannot set anything that could hurt someone. No, you can't. Now, if you have a field and there's some cars and you have an electrical fence, you can have it. And if they touch it, oh well, but... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it was to prevent theft. Are you allowed to electrify your fence?
No, you're not. So you cannot booby trap your residence. You cannot, set something where someone can get hurt. No, you can't.
And what? More foot patrols, and it was
Like intersection traffic, enforcing like intersection traffic. So in terms of foot patrol, yes, we do. So this is the. We don't mind doing it at all. It's sometimes we can do it on shifts. Sometimes we have overtime shift to do it. We're trying to balance, like we have to be financially responsible. Like, like it's your tax dollars that we're talking about. So I can have like a couple of guys on overtime every day foot patrolling downtown, right? Are we getting our bang for our bucks? Probably not. But yeah, it's something that town council mentioned, and we've been doing a lot during Christmas time. Of course, since then a little less. But it's something that we're doing, yes.
And what size of an area are you responsible for?
So roughly the Edson detachment goes, north, is it Baseline Road, like Fallon School-ish, south Robb area, west Obed-ish, and east, what's that, No Jack. Yeah, that's the area that we have to cover. And so there's a lot of oil sites in that area. That's why we get hit so hard. We have guys from Whitecourt coming down. We have guys from Drayton Valley coming up, and they come and hit our area, and then they drive away. So, and the majority of you are familiar with the area. Like those are rat nests of roads, and some of them are local people. They know their way better than us, and so that's why they can steal a lot of cables, a lot of batteries and whatnot. So, yep. Any other questions? Yes.
So I know that the property crime right now is like really high, oil and gas. I've heard no one here that I know, but I've heard people say that they're concerned about if the onus to stop those crimes and push those criminals out of oil sites happens successfully. They're worried that the property crime for like people's private property is going to increase. But I guess my question would be, especially living very rural, so we're an hour out of any town, what advice is there for people that live that far out if there is an instance that you're home and someone is breaking in, if you're concerned someone's going to break into your home? Because of course you'll call 911 and then sit and patiently wait for an hour. So what's the advice to people that don't have access to emergency services as quickly as people in town do?
Yeah, it's a bit of a disadvantage, I agree. I just want to point out, so we saw an increase compared to 2023, but if we look at the numbers, 2020, there was a total of 817 just in Edson. Last year, yes, we were a little higher, but we're only at 592. So overall, we saw a decrease of property crime in Edson for the last 5 years. It's just that 2023 we had such a great year. And to be fair, like crime goes up and down, right? Like it's never come to zero, unfortunately. And there's a lot of factors that affect those numbers. The biggest factor is if you have a prolific offender being released from jail. I kid you not, when I was saying there was only 3 that caused a lot of those damage and break and enter and mischief in the oil industry, I'm not kidding. As soon as we arrested them, it was like, whoa, there's nothing else going on at nighttime. Like it stopped. So as soon as you have 1 or 2 people that are very prolific, very active, your numbers just go right to the roof. So, and that's who we try to target as much as possible. We try to pinch them for anything. But, they're like, I hate to say it, but sometimes they get smarter and they know that if they drive a vehicle with no license plate, they're going to get pulled over for that. So they register their vehicle so they can go commit their crime. And it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, eh? So that's for the town, and let's look at the county. Christian, what year did you come here? What year? 2020. Look at that, eh? Thanks. So this one, see, it's kind of a cyclical. It was a little lower in 2020, we're a little higher, then 2023 we're a little lower, so a little cyclical in the county. So, yes?
Do you think that part of the decrease in property crime might be just that people are not reporting?
So, I want to say no because our call volumes kept going up. I'm sure there's some that is not being reported. I know for a fact some businesses along First Avenue that are facing the train tracks, they've told us, listen, we don't call you every single time that our fence getting cut, something significant gets stolen, just because, you know, it's more headache than anything else. But I want to say overall, people are calling in. Our calls are up, but I'm sure there's some people that are not calling as well. So, yeah. So I can speak for this year and right now. So every day when we come in, me and my sergeant, we look at the files for the last 24 hours. And for probably since January, like extremely quiet at nighttime. Like sometimes like we have a call for service at midnight and nothing until like 6 in the morning. And it was not like that, not that long ago. You would have like, you know, being steady calls here and there. So it's just a little quieter, just not as many people moving around. I go to the COP meetings and talk with them and they're like, yeah, there's no one out there. Like we patrol, we drive around, there's no one. So there is a change. There's something that is keeping the number low. I want to say that's what we're doing because that's our job. So, but it's also like working with COP and having people calling in and stuff like that. That the total of all this make that, okay, we get a grip on what's going on. We had a new CPO joining the CPO team in Edson. I mean, there's now 2. So yeah, they enforce a little bit more traffic. So there's a little bit more presence in the community. All those little check marks make that at the end of the day, maybe it's not as easy to commit crime in Edson. And I can tell you, the detachment commander in Hinton was telling me a couple of days ago, oh yeah, tonight we have a big operations. We're chasing the criminals from Edson out of Hinton, so we scared some away. They will probably come back, and so it's cyclical. It's cyclical. Yeah. Yes. He likes the exercise, so.
Good thing I didn't go to the gym.
I'm sorry to repeat myself. I was just curious what your advice is for people
Oh,
that
sorry.
live
Yes.
in rural areas and are concerned about.
So, the best advice is like, and usually the people in the county, they do that already, but know your neighbors, talk to your neighbors, and everybody be aware of what's going on to you, like with your neighbor, right? If you go on vacation, let your neighbor know so he can check on your house and whatnot. And then watch for each other. I'll be honest with you, like when I go out in the county and talk with people, you guys are doing that already, but that would be my advice number 1. Number 2 is like, nowadays, if you leave something outside not tied up, someone might need it more than you and steal it, right? So just be cognizant of that. You know, I'm not telling you like every single day you have to, but the more difficult you make it for someone to steal something, then they might go to a different property. Now, you know, the security systems, having like automatic lights, absolutely. Also, if you want, COP has someone trained as CPTED, so crime prevention through environmental design. It's just to have a look at your property, how the layout is, if you have any trees that are providing like, you know, nice like hiding place for them to do something and whatnot. I would call them and have them come and have a quick look, take their recommendation, you know, and see what you want to do with that. That's another thing. And then at the end of the day, extremely rare, especially in our area, like a break and enter while you're in your residence, extremely rare. Like my advice is like, if you can leave, you leave with your family. It's no time to confront anybody. Back to what you were saying a little earlier, like now sometimes they have weapons with them, exactly. We don't want to be in that situation. And then yes, call us and then we'll come and deal with it. So those are the same advice that we've been, you know, repeating over and over. It's not that, you know, people don't do them. Actually, the majority of people do. It's just that's what we have available, right? Those are the best tools.
All right, a couple more from online. With the theft of property, how difficult is it to catch the people that are actually purchasing this merchandise? And what technicalities are these thieves getting off on? Like, what's tying your hands and keeping them in jail?
Those are good questions. So very hard to find people buying the stolen properties. There's no pawn shop here in town to start with. So, you know, I've worked at a detachment where we had pawn shop and we could track a few things like this. But usually when they steal something, it's because they know they have someone that wants to buy it. So they already have a buyer. So it's really done, you know, in secrecy, and we really don't know. Where we have a little bit of success, it's with stolen vehicles, because sometimes they keep them and drive around. They try to slap just a fake plate on it, but then that's how we can catch them. So we have a bit of success with that. And then, what was the other question again? It was a good question.
What is tying your hands?
Oh, tying our hands. So, you know, without going into too many details, I'll give you an example, all right? Recently, one of my members saw a case being tossed out of court because the Crown had difficulty to bring the case in court, saying, hey, when you see someone through a windshield, are you really recognizing the person, or the windshield is distorting that kind of technicalities, right? So when we're talking about stolen property, right, we have to prove that the person knew that the items were stolen. Like, not just to simply be in possession is not enough. The person has to have knowledge. That's another step that we have to, like, prove to the court that, yeah, that person knew that they were stolen. So technicalities like this, that, my humble opinion, come on, right? Like, do we need to go that far? But that's what the judicial system is set up right now, and that's what we have to deal with. So, any other questions? Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm not too sure if this is for you or for Eric. How many businesses have signed up to the agent program? So that's my first question. 2, how many calls have we received based on the agent program? And if there is any kind of feedback that you've gotten since implementing it.
Okay, good.
All right, so I can,
Do you want to come right in front of
I
the
got to come up
camera?
in front of the camera here,
Absolutely.
sorry. So as of this week, we have 80 businesses that have signed up to the agent program. From my department, we've only had 4 to 5 calls of service to deal with the agent program. So very, very well received. We've had lots of positive conversations with businesses that have signed up that said, you know, they've just had to point at the picture or the sticker on the wall or on the window, and the people have left. So it's starting to get out there that people are knowing what that little sticker shows for. The agent program, so when we have a property, us as law enforcement agencies or officers cannot actually take somebody off the property. We don't have that authority. You can ask that person to be taken off that property, then we can pull them off. So with the agent program, what that does is now the businesses have given us that authority, so we don't need the businesses to actually ask us to remove someone off their property. We can do it automatically.
Yeah. Good. I have. So, and I will echo his comments. Same thing with my department. We didn't get a lot of calls saying, hey, you know, like there's someone here and they're not leaving the premise, and based on the agent program, I've heard the same comment where like they just basically say, hey, you know, like we're part of the agent program. If you don't leave right away, we're going to call them, and people kind of comply. That's basically what we're seeing. So far so good. Very good positive results. And yes, it's just giving us some sort of a authority, especially outside of business hours when the owners are not there and we see someone like setting up a tent by the ATCO building, for example. Sorry guys, they're part of the agent program. We have permission to kick you out, so you go camp somewhere else. So that's basically what it is. Any other questions?
I don't really have a question so much as a concern.
Okay.
Is it possible, I know with your lack of numbers and your officers being down and stuff like that, officers out in the rural areas and stuff? I know obviously population-wise, crime rate-wise, your higher impact is in town, but for that resident, you know, for example, like for us, on a good day, dry roads, you guys are already in your cars, it's a minimum of 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So it's a part of being and living out there, that inherent
Yep.
risk. But at the same time, I don't want to leave to go to work, you know, and the kids are at home or the wife's at home, and I have to worry that when you phone 911 or the alarm system goes off, it's going to take you guys an hour to get there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, so I don't know if it is possible to get more proactive, you know, enforcement. I know, you know, as peace officers and stuff, you guys are usually out in the rural areas a little bit more, but to try and maybe focus on that
Yeah.
as well, just because of the fact that the numbers and the thefts are up.
No, absolutely. So, you know the numbers, the 1,500 proactive patrols. So every members are asked to do, like town and county, like combined, about a minimum of 10 proactive patrols, and to stop about 10 vehicles, and to write about 3 tickets or give 3 warnings. I leave that. No, so it's no, because they have the choice, either 3 tickets or 3 warnings. I leave it to the members. So to be quite honest, even if I was forcing 3 tickets, that's not a lot. That's not a lot at all. So no, it's up to the members. Some members will write the tickets, some members will give the warnings. That's basically what it is. So we do see some patrols in the county, like based on that. But it's such a big area. It's so you might not see a police car on your road, or we were there at 2 in the morning and you were sleeping. So, but for sure, I'll pass it along. Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we look at the priorities that we're talking about, like I don't hear anybody disputing property crime. I think we should focus on that. It affects everybody, businesses, residences, and whatnot. Visibility in the community, I think it's also like kind of hand in hand in patrolling and being there and trying to deter crime. Drugs, anybody wants us to remove that from our priorities? No, we're good. Okay, and traffic as well. I think we should focus on that a little bit. We have not in previous years. We won't have a quota, not yet anyway. So, but yeah, we do have to write the odd tickets here and there. I know they're not fun, but it is what it is. So, but anything else that you guys feel that we should probably look at or focus on, or questions on anything? Yes. Thank you for coming.
I know that you've already talked about that, like everyone's aware what the problem is with the property crime and the revolving door, and like everybody knows. But I guess it's still really frustrating as like a tax-paying citizen to be like, oh yeah, we all know the system's broken. But like if you look at the last 5 years, like it's getting worse. So like just the numbers, I mean. But so if you've been here since 2020, have you seen positive movement? Like, is anyone putting like a doorstop in the revolving door in your opinion, or is it just kind of seem like it's running status quo, and the only way that you're going to get these numbers down is more officers and working with oil and gas? I know they're hired security companies and like, you know, it seems like, unfortunately, instead of having that support in the judicial system, it's more like having to have more officers, having oil and gas have to put more money into their own security. And the other concern is, I know that, like I said, you know it's broken and everybody knows it's a problem, but there's talk with oil and gas being like, it's not worth having sites out here. Like, why have an oil field that is old even operating if we're losing money? And so, you know, that really impacts the livelihood of everybody in the community.
100%. So first part, do I see some positive? Absolutely. When I see numbers going down like this, like it's impossible for us to keep the curb down all the time. Like I wish. We're the only business really working hard to get out of a job. But we know we were not going to get out of a job. But when you see, like 5 years ago, we're at 817, we're at 592, not bad. I'll tell you a little secret. The surrounding detachment are still around there. We're not bad, right? Is it frustrating? Absolutely, because I see the files and I see the name, I'm like, what, he's still doing this? He got released? Like, very frustrating. Ask my members. They're sitting at their desk sometimes for a couple of hours, billing a court case and printing the pictures and transcribing statements and this and that, and then it goes to court and like, oh yeah, don't do that again. So we are frustrated. Those are the rules we have to play with right now. That's what it is. But overall, yes, we've seen us focusing on property crime, our extra patrols. I've seen some members like basically dedicating their days chasing people with warrants, chasing people that are on curfew, that are prolific offenders, and just harassing them. So we see it, we do our part. It's just the digital system is a big piece, right? I mean, they're going to introduce like ankle bracelets, right? Great. I'd rather have that than nothing. But between you and me, again, my humble opinion, if you need a bracelet, well, you're out, right? So, but that's my humble opinion. But I'd rather see this than no bracelet. So we got to work with the rules that we have. What was the second part?
I asked if, like, over the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but there's something else. Anyway, it'll come back to me.
So this person says, I know it's not smart, but can a person subdue a criminal on their property? And what are the rules surrounding protecting your home with a firearm?
Yes. Hi, Brian. So, all right. So the rules. So basically, if you see someone committing an indictable offense, so in Canada, you either commit an indictable offense or a summary offense or a mix of the two. So if the offense falls into indictment, yes, someone can detain them and call the police, all right? Now, you have to always keep in mind that whatever you're doing has to be reasonable for what's happening. So, can you, when someone tried to steal your quad, take a baseball bat, knock him in behind the head so you subdue him like that? No, that's excessive, right? But if for whatever reason you tackle him and you're holding onto the ground and we come, you might be all right, okay? So that's basically it. Now with firearms, so now you're in the area what we call death or grievous bodily harm. I can tell you right now, there's no court that will have your back if you shoot someone to protect property. Like, no court will. So the short answer for this would be stay away from that. And I have stories, and one in particular, where a young lady who was at home, like you're describing, with the family, truck pulled in the driveway. She got out with a shotgun, she would scare the bad guys. Well, they wrestled the gun out, like, from her. So you never know where that firearms will end up, right? Luckily, she didn't get shot, but as soon as you bring a firearm to the incident, now there's a firearm introduced in the whole picture, right? So what if you lose control of that firearms? And I hear people saying, oh, I'm a good shot, I won't miss. You never know, you could, right? So my advice is, like, stay away from firearms. Best case scenario, if you can, you leave your property. Yeah, I get it, it's frustrating, I get it, but it's the safest. And then you go through the insurance and whatnot.
You talked about curfews earlier.
Yes.
What are you talking about with the curfews? What does that mean?
So a curfew, it's basically a time that you're supposed to be at home imposed by the court. So you have to be home between like 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And usually it says that you have to present yourself to the door if a police officer goes to check. So that's what we do. We follow up on those, and we know who has one, and we go, 10 o'clock supposed to be at home, we go 10:30, knock, 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 you're not home. All right, we're breaching you. So now we're going to track you down, fine you, arrest you, bring you back before a judge, hoping he's going to keep you in jail, but usually they don't, and then the revolving door.
At one time, there used to be a curfew here for teenagers that had to be home, but for a certain time or something. Is that still a thing?
Do we still have? So
it was a
I don't know if there's
was it a
still a
bylaw or
bylaw
something?
about that. There is? Okay.
I'd have to look. I haven't looked at that bylaw myself.
So I know there's a time that you have. So parks by 11 o'clock you cannot be in a park. I think there was one. It's possible it's still there. So they have been challenged in court, those curfew, because we live in a free country and it's against your right to be told to be home at a certain time, even though you're not an adult. So what I've seen happening with those, it's like you drive around, hey, says, hey, there's a curfew, you gotta be home, and they're like, oh, sorry, and they go home, but we can't really enforce it. So that's basically it with curfews. Any other questions? Anything online?
Nope, just that they appreciate your honesty and straightforward approach to all the questions asked.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I don't have anything else. These were the stats. Wanted to get your feedback on the priorities. From what I'm hearing from you guys, I think we're kind of on track on what you guys would like to see. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.